this button, and then this button, and then this button. And we'll call that pre-production. Well, it's pre-show. For anybody who's wondering what pre-show is, this is the Rants of Izzo here on Spreely TV. So I got to take a couple minutes, for the love of God, for the show to kick in and for me actually get in the mood, because I don't say anything like, man, I'm up at 5 and I don't talk to a single human being, and then like friggin' noon comes and I've got to do a show. It's like, that's a 7 hours of silence. I say nothing, and then boom, here you go. But it is Wednesday, so the Burn Pit Podcast boys are joining me. If you wonder what that show is, it's live Mondays, 4 p.m. Eastern. You can get some fantastic content. Go to Spreely.com. Check out all the things there. Remember, it costs you nothing to share the shows. If you like them, great. If you like Scott and Matt, awesome. If you like me better, that's even fucking better, and I love that shit. Oh, Izzo, you swear too much. Oh, your sister's ass. Check out the other shows on Spreely as well, too. Shannon Joy. You're going to get a very different opinion with her. I like her content. I don't agree with the stuff, but I like her content. Evening Rants. Report and Opine. Pete Santilli, some awesome stuff. And again, now that he can hear me, I will say that if you go to watch the Burn Pit Podcast and you don't know what the Second Amendment is, like you can't recite that, you shouldn't be watching it. Or you should, to get your education on there. Also, you guys want to sit there and promote your business, go ahead and send me a text or an email. It's either 708-982-0974, or you can send an email to rantsofizzo@gmail.com. Let's talk about your business. We promote small businesses on the show. We love talking all about, the mom and pop. I don't care if you knit turtleneck sweaters for cats or if you sell feet pictures on the internet. I don't care, dude. We will promote you, because in this economy, in this world, we need to promote one another. No, I don't want that one. Also, do not forget Thursdays. I said Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm limited to Thursdays. I know you guys like the police content I do. If you want more of it, you could check out live Thursday nights, 9 Eastern, that's 8 Central, Cop Talk Live. We go over police pursuit videos, use of force videos, why females should never be cops because they suck, all that. I just piss everybody off. That's how that goes. So we want you to be a part of that. Other than that, let's see. Coming up on the show, it's 90-something degrees out here in Chicago. I'm not wearing a tie today because it's hot as balls. And I could not enjoy a cigar last night because it was so damn hot. And my sack was sticking to the inside of my leg. You gents know that. Actually, with TRT, sometimes they don't stick because they shrivel up. Okay. All right. That's it. We're going to do a show here in about 20 seconds. Oh, don't forget, we got a chat. Damn, where's my chat people? Sorry, kids. I didn't even look at you today. We do have a chat on Telegram app, because I know a lot of you guys like to bounce around all over the fucking place. So Telegram, the Rants of Izzo show. Really quickly, April, Schoen, Bev Banks, Franco. Yeah, dude, we're on there right now. We do a show. It's good to see you guys. Kate.
Prepare yourself.
The opinions of the host and guests on this show are exclusively just that, opinions. That means that they shouldn't be the cause of your state of being offended. Why does everybody get so butthurt?
Okay, let's go. Ready, go!
Sit down, shut up, and pay attention.
Damn!
This is the Rants of Izzo Show with your host, Dominic Izzo, from porn to politics. We touch every third rail we can find. You might want to put your headphones on so your mom can't hear this. It's been called the most entertaining 60 minutes on the internet, and it starts now. Let's do this.
Hey, good afternoon. This is the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely TV. We talk about all things from porn to politics, stream of consciousness. We just have a conversation with some of my awesome guests in the middle of the day to keep you being from bored at work, if somebody you still do at work at your cubicles, or if you're working at home or whatnot and you need to take a break, because being an entrepreneur is It's damn hard, dude. It's hard. There's always something in the fridge to eat. There's always something on TV. So take a break with us for 60 minutes and just enjoy shit. Burn Pit Podcast, boys. Good afternoon. Welcome Wednesday. How are you? Scotty, how was your birthday? Matt, happy birthday, dude.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, Dominic.
Yeah.
Unlike some people, I show up to the podcast on my birthday.
You guys, you two are always giving me shit. This is awful. I'm like the little brother here, and it's horrible.
Would you turn 43 last week?
I was 42, and I believe, Matt, you're 48 today.
48.
Yeah, it's all downhill from there, dude. All just time to do not do what I did and increase the dosage. So I increased the dosage because of my age last week, and I'm on my bike, and I'm like, what the hell, dude? I think these are panic attacks. And I've talked about this openly. I was starting to get panic attacks on the bike where if I'm up over 55 miles an hour on a straight road that's indefinite, I'm like, dude, I'm freaking out. I'm going to fall off any second, which makes no sense. I've never had this in the decade I've been riding a bike. So the other day, it was happening immediately. I mean, like, I get on the bike, turn the corner, 15 miles an hour. I'm like, why do I have no balance? So over shits and giggles, I went to Walgreens to get my blood pressure tested. And she's like, yeah, so you're 156 over 111. And she, any idea why that would be? I'm like, yeah, I know exactly why that is. Time to back off some shit I'm pushing in my veins. So that's just that. Do not increase just because you get older. Let's talk about some stuff. Number one, I do love having the Burn Pit Podcast guys on. Scott and I were talking before the show. It is one of, I think, the most important weekdays that we have here. I love my other guests. I really do. Everybody brings something awesome to the table, and the point of the show is it's to be diverse. I don't want to be all politics. Did that for years, and oh my God, I thought about quitting because it's all we friggin' talked about. So like with Kayla from Flex Your Feminine on Fridays, we'll talk about how crazy women are. Lola, when she's on, it's just a fucking... It is like taking acid that I've never done. You go in every direction, and she's just this idiot savant of knowledge out of everywhere. And she agrees, dude, she agrees with you guys on an insane fucking level.
She sends me a lot of messages.
Yeah, she's cool. She supports our shit.
Dude, one of my favorite fucking human beings. And then, we got this, but when Wednesdays come, I find myself being a little bit more serious on shit because, I do like being embarrassed by men who know more than I do on shit because that makes me go, okay, got to raise up my stuff. I saw an awesome video by Matt, which kind of resonates with how we as Americans are. We selectively know information, and you talk specifically about the Second Amendment. People like, don't tread on me, and shall not be infringed, and you're like, recite it. Yeah, well, so at that point, we are just as guilty as the liberal left when people go, what are Kamala Harris's policies that you like? Well, I'm not prepared to ask this question. Well, what's the Second Amendment? Well, shall not be infringed. So I think it's important when we have you guys on to actually be a very well-educated show that I massively appreciate. So I appreciate you guys always coming on Wednesdays. That's it.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, of course. The clips we posted in the last couple of podcast page was going over Matt reciting the Second Amendment, that most people forget the first part, which is
a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state.
Right. Everyone knows the
right to keep and bear arms.
Right, keep and bear arms, keep and bear arms. Everyone forgets that first part. And then the other one we posted was us going over a list of different arms or accessories to arms, plus some tanks in there, as well as some rocket propelled grenades. Should citizens be allowed to own those things?
Yeah.
And we unanimously agree that, yes, anything that the government has access to, the citizenry should have access to as well. And the argument that the left makes is, well, the founders couldn't have possibly seen these weapons of war that would be in today. When they wrote that, most of them owned their own cannons, had their naval ships, and they believed anything that the government had access to, that the citizenry should have access to as well.
They weren't unintelligent men, right? So they're not going, hey, we're limited to the technology of the time. They had to know, we know that in 100 years from now, technology is going to be advanced, because they knew that 100 years before them. And we know that within 100 years from now. So I don't think that argument doesn't make any sense. And the people who sit there and say, well, they never thought that we would have cell phones in our hands, so free speech should be limited by the danger of access to people saying shit. It's like, I don't know where we just got rid of this responsibility and been like, no, it's better that we limit things because we have irresponsible people out there who can't emotionally handle this. So let's ruin it all for the rest of the class.
Yeah. And that's the problem is we as a people have, resigned ourselves to a subservient class to the government. We've given all the power to the government, right? We don't have time. We just want to work and make our money, jerk off to internet porn, watch our sports ball. You guys take care of everything. And whenever they do something they don't like, they tolerate it. They'll bitch and complain about it, and they try and vote again to try and maybe gain some a little bit more freedom back that has been taken away. And very rarely does that happen. Right? It rarely happens. And when it comes to the Second Amendment, and I would have to go all the way back, but I think it was 1934 was the NFA, which is the National Firearms Act, put into place by FDR. Now, this is after all these mobsters are using automatic weapons, Tommy guns, other weapons, Browning automatics, and they're doing all the street crime through the mobsters because there was prohibition, Dominic, right? So they outlawed alcohol, right? So, it's just like one thing led to another. And they ended up getting rid of the prohibition. I believe it was the 21st Amendment was the repealing of prohibition, which was the 18th Amendment. But they didn't get rid of the National Firearms Act. They just kept on adding on to it. And then you had the creation of an organization called the ATF, which is the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And I believe that was 1972. And it was the Treasury Department's role to take care of weapons violations when it came to the National Firearms Act. And so by 72, they just decided to make it one huge organization. FBI was involved as well before. But those two entities, they just said, let's make a separate branch called the ATF, include alcohol in that because alcohol is regulated. And apparently, obviously, tobacco is regulated, which is crazy to me because I didn't know it was regulated on a federal level. I thought it was only state level. But regardless, you never really got any firearms freedoms back. I mean, you have very slight little things being taken. The bump stock ban was removed under Biden, correct?
Pistol brace recently.
Well, that was challenged. They wasn't even outlawed yet. It was challenged immediately. Right. But you have like, I believe 19 or 20 red flag law states, which means they can come take your firearms away just because you might not act appropriately in their opinion. You didn't break a law. You didn't violate the law. You haven't even been accused or charged of a crime. They don't like the way you behave. They can run your profile through a psychological board of the state. Now, these are state laws, not a federal. Donald Trump did ask for a federal red flag law, but he got scrutiny and it didn't get drafted. But you have 20 states now that can just basically take your firearm at will, and you don't even have to break the law in order for them to take your firearm. So the Second Amendment is the best way to control the population. Again, when you don't have guns, it makes it easier for the government who has unlimited access to firepower. It's easier for a government to control the citizens, or at least you don't have to worry about them rising up in any large capacity. Again, you have fear of government resistance, government violence. And when they're firepower and they're organized groups of men who are paid, again, I've said this before, pension, paycheck, and benefits, they're paid to do all of these constitutional violations. The citizens are not paid to organize to resist it. And that's where the problem comes in.
That's where the big problem comes in, because now you're not going to get an organized, call it what it is, a militia of people who are going to resist. And you're seeing it. I'm watching videos of these man on the street interviews, people asking, and I'm guilty of this, where if you ask me what I support Trump for and his policies, I can't give you one, right? I can't give you one. I don't even know if I'm going to vote at this point. I'm in the Chicago area. My vote doesn't fucking count. But then again, you've got the responsibility to vote, make your voice heard. I'm burnt out in the system. But I'm watching an overwhelming number of people just, what do you like about Kamala Harris? Well, she's black and she's a woman, this and that. Okay, she is the equivalent of the Stanley Cup phenomenon that happened earlier this year. You saw all these women, not the hockey game, the cup, but the tumbler, where these women were just hoarding into Target when these things were just released. For no reason, marketing. We saw toilet paper at the beginning of the pandemic. Why? Why were people hoarding it? We don't know. Cabbage Patch Kids, that's our era. Marketing, it was a brilliant tactic. I think, based on what I've seen and the stupidity of human beings, that their side, whatever their side is, call it liberal, call it liberalism, call it progression, I don't care. It's drones that are looking to just get along easily, get a piece of what's theirs. Everything you just described about, the conservative video games, porn, all this shit, they've got that too, to where it's just ease of life, right? And then the powers that be on their side are going to say, hey, listen, we're going to give it to you more. We're going to give it to you more. Now, let's just say they've got an army of 20 million or 81 million, right? 82 million, because she's going to come away with 83 million votes. Let's say they manufacture 83 million. I would venture to say that in ground war, right? If it wasn't a cyber attack, if there was nothing else, I conservatively think that a group of 5 million well-armed, well-trained people could hold off 81 million, 82 million liberals who have no idea what the hell they're doing, right? Put that up in a battle royal, put it on the big screen, all this shit. You're not going to get it to happen. Because the problem, too, on our side is, just as an example, Trump has new charges on him, and we'll talk about that today. And just 2 weeks ago, it came into the media with a blip and disappeared about the 27 million that the Biden family has made while abusing political power. Now, if any one of us made $2,700 by abusing our position of authority in anything, we would be prosecuted and thrown in jail. So, like you always say, Maddie, nobody's going to do anything. Here's Americans who, just based on the concept of everything you said, Second Amendment, all that, I'm not going to lie, and I there's no way of being careful about saying this. If you're going to jail Trump, potentially because he's going to be sentenced for $130,000 in campaign violation funds that they convicted him on, all those, he's a convicted felon, but you let Biden slide on $27 million when it was a blatant, proven abuse of power while in office, the American people, it's past time for protesting. It's past time for voting. Millions of armed Americans should be marching on the White House saying, bring that cocksucker out here because you are not going to do it, so we're going to hold court. But it's never going to happen. So I honestly think that the ideals of what you're talking about, that's going to be, guys like you are going to be hiding somewhere in the fucking woods with 30 or 40 other like-minded people, and you'll be fine. The rest of us are all going to be fucked from all this stuff because conservatives are fundamentally lazy. We think one person's going to save our problems. We can't quote a fucking a principled line from a text document that's supposed to keep us in power and check. And we're our own worst enemies. So everything you said is an idealistic aspect. When it boils down to it, nothing's ever going to happen because nobody's ever going to do shit. That's it. It sucks. I hate it.
No. What I'm thinking, the only plausible way for any significant change to happen would be on the local level. People can successfully and plausibly do this on the local level. Let's just say you have a corrupt community or county. Let's just say county because that's a little bit bigger. If you had enough people organized, you can definitely put up a resistance to where law enforcement would back down. They were like, look, I'm not going to, risk my life over enforcing any garbage, or if these people are upset, their local government, the county government, I'm not getting involved. There's too many guys, even 100 people. Even 100 people in one county, if they're fully armed and pretty well trained, the police are going to be like, you know what, I'm not going to fuck with this. Maybe you're going to have to make concessions. So that's the only thing. But again, to your point, I don't even know if you can get that many people in a corrupt county to stand up.
No,
I mean, trust me, I train, and I'm going to leave names out. I'm going to leave group names out. I train with a group of guys, and they are very scared to even speak or be associated with me personally in this training group because they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to be associated. They don't post anything online. They don't even want to be associated with me. Not all of them, some of them. A lot of them agree with me. But because I have a podcast and I say the things that I do, they don't even want to be. And these are patriotic, Second Amendment, rah, 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 conservative guys. And they're so pussified and cowardly that they don't even want to say these things or be associated with me who does say these things. So even the malicious style people are so pussified that, I again, to your point, I believe the only way for things to get better is for the American conservative right to be so disenfranchised and so hopeless to where like a Democrat gets elected or things get worse, that they're not going to have a choice but to rise up. Now, is the Donald Trump arrest going to spark that or light that fuse? I don't know. It might. But to your look at the insurrection, quote unquote, January 6th. What did they do? They literally executed one of them, Ashley Babbitt, and shot her in the head. Do you know one of these motherfuckers that Trump supported brought a firearm? No, they didn't, because it's illegal to bring a firearm in Washington, D.C. Complete violation of the Second Amendment. But they don't do anything. They just want to scream and yell. Oh, we broke a couple windows. One guy maced a cop. That was it.
Yeah. Dominic, to go back to everything you said there, about people being uninformed, that's the majority of the population, right? There's no question about that. So when you ask somebody, why are you voting for Kamala Harris? And they go, oh, because she's a woman or because she's black. Well, the Democrat Party is the identity politics party. If you fit into this group, if you're a woman, you have to be pro-choice. If you're gay, you have to vote Democrat because they're pro-LGBT. If you're black, obviously, Republicans, that big red R stands for racist. So yeah. Vote Democrat. So they put these people in the box. You have to vote this way. And on that side, they don't know the Constitution either. And you'll admit it, and I'll admit it too. We're not nearly as knowledgeable on the Constitution as we should be, like Matty Wack is. But they really don't know why they're voting for Trump, other than people have now been put into groups. You're on Team Red R, you're Team Blue D, and it's become like sports, where, I talked about this on a podcast where I had I consider him a friend, but he's very left-leaning, but he was a big Penguins fan here in Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Penguins are obviously a very popular sports team. He hated Alex Ovechkin. He's this Russian guy from the Washington Capitals. Well, he would always call him a dirty player and a piece of shit. And one time we're watching this game at the bar I work at, and he looks up at the screen, and Alex Ovechkin makes this dirty play. He goes, what a piece of shit he is. He goes in the penalty box. Well, here, a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins, a defenseman named Chris Letang, the next play makes the same exact play, and he cheers. He goes, yeah. And I go, dude, same play. Both of them pieces of shit. He goes, no, fuck that other guy. And it's like, hey, man, that's politics today.
Yeah.
Everyone's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And one side's cheering for their piece of shit, and the other side's cheering for their piece of shit. So, with that, that's the dynamics that I see. And then with what Maddie's saying with trying to organize men, and nobody wants to be on an FBI watch list. Nobody wants to be have any of their, say, modern comforts taken away, like we saw with Kanye West. We saw with the people, oh, you got demonetized. You can't use your bank. You can't even go to use an Airbnb. You can't even use Uber. So nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be on the list. But the thing I see, the stark difference on the left and the right is the left is willing to take to the streets. They're willing to use the threat of force and violence. And I think part of why the right's not is because I'm just going to put it out there as plainly and simple as I can. They're better people. They're just better. The people on the right are going, well, we have to make some sort of at least a political solution before we get to that point. And we keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Well, there's got to be a political solution. Let's do this peacefully. So you have people on the right that are willing to see their constitution eroded, thinking that one day we'll vote the right people in. One day we'll get the right people to come in. But that's what I say.
Is that better or is that weaker?
It's definitely weaker because.
So I wouldn't call it better.
Well, how about this?
In some aspects, you can say there's a time and place for debate. There's a time and place to talk and discuss. But how long do you wait while you're continually being genocided, destroyed, oppressed, tyrannized before you're like, okay, talk is over?
Yeah.
How much longer do you wait for? So
where's that red line in the sand, so to speak? Where's the threshold?
I think we're past the line.
Yeah. Most people don't, though. Most people are, as long as they got their bread and circuses, and as long as they got their comforts and their food and their McDonald's and their fast food and their internet porn and their sports ball and everything else.
Yep, the video games.
Yeah, they're going to go, okay. And I don't think, even if Trump got arrested, I don't think that would be the spark.
They would be mad, but yeah. But go ahead, Donald.
People want to be outraged, period, over nothing. When I ran for sheriff out here in Cook County, Chicago, it was right when I think it was Deerfield, Illinois. The police chief supported some bullshit 15-round mag capacity stuff that we're coming after you if you've got that. And the Cook County Sheriff, Tom Dart, did nothing. So I kind of ran on that. And that was one of my biggest platforms was I was 100% pro-police. My platform was police integrity, putting them first, because if we correct all the problems with them, they'll be able to serve the citizens better, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I would go, and I was in forums for Second Amendment groups in the Illinois area. You'd be surprised. I was the only candidate running on that position. I will arrest, I flat out put it, I will find out what powers I have. I will arrest the mayor of the city of Chicago if I find out that they're violating gun laws, this and that, blah, blah. You know how many fucking groups like not NRA, maybe they were NRA chapters, I don't know. But how many groups would attack me because I would say, I would bring up the issue. I need to get on the ballot to be able to do this, to work for you. I need signatures. I need volunteers. The response I get, well, what the fuck are you going to do for us? When are you coming out here? What are you doing? I'm like, I literally just said I'm going to be going after those who violate gun rights. But these fucking I burn bridges. I flat out said, do you see why you clowns will never have any advancement? Because you're not serious about this shit. So yeah, it's a big joke. Yeah. It's with this Trump shit. I lost a lot of faith with law enforcement. It could be anybody. If they did this to somebody on the left, like I am not all for Trump getting in office and going after his political enemies. You do that, you better do everybody on the right as well too. He needs to be fucking cleaned house. Yeah. But it blows me away how every law enforcement officer, if they see that Biden gets off with his 27 million bullshit and Trump gets sentenced, I would like to see every cop go, we are not enforcing this. And I would like to see Trump go, I'm not showing up to jail. Fucking do what you want. Come after me. Sorry, I am not showing up. I refuse to comply. And maybe that would start something. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, it's who knows. And look, these charges against Trump are just totally bogus. I would charge Trump with treason, though. I mean, not guilty. Presidents are guilty of shit. All even government officials in higher positions like Secretary of State, you can even say Supreme Court justices. I mean, anybody who violates the Constitution or does not uphold their oath, you are required by Article 6, Section 3 to take an oath to office. That is reaffirmed in the U.S. Law Code under Title 5, Section 3331. It's perjury. That's perjury. You commit a felony. That's a violation of federal law code, Title 18 Criminal Code 1621 is for everybody, and there's different ones on state levels. So every person who did not uphold their oath to office is guilty of perjury. I could throw almost every motherfucker in Washington, D.C. in jail just on that account, not to mention the deprivation of constitutional rights and conspiracy to deprive constitutional rights. I mean, it's ridiculous. And just not anybody. There's not one fucking law enforcement agent in the fucking country who arrested anybody during COVID for depriving constitutional rights. Nope. Not one. Or violating their oath to office. Not a single motherfucker. So the law enforcement, in my opinion, COVID was the real test for Leo, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. And we talked about
failed.
That. Every one of them failed.
We talked about that when we first started doing the podcast together and I had you on. That was the primary focus. You look at all the way today. Look at what it blows me away. The videos that are circulating alone of Tim Walz, his Gestapo police pepperballing people who were on their front porch during COVID, that should have you terrified. And to be honest, I would have no problem with this. If you have the police marching down your street with pepper balls during a lockdown, I would have no problem with Americans returning fire with real fucking weapons. It blows me away.
Video.
Blows me away.
Yep.
Absolutely blows me away.
You guys, listen, you guys are extremists here, and I feel very uncomfortable. You guys are extremists. No, you're all 100% correct. And when you look at the Biden 27 million and Trump's 130K, there seems to be an overarching theme going on in mostly in the Democrat Party, but it's across Washington in general. Our politicians, everything is rules for thee, but not for me. You know, I can do this. They're connected. They're in a club. It's a good old boys club, and the American people aren't in it. And these people enrich their lives at the expense of their constituents, and that's what that is. They're enriching their lives. They're taking money. Nancy Pelosi's net worth is up to like 280 million. It's absolutely ridiculous, but they're all like that. You know, you can point to one side. If you're going to call out one side, you call out the other. Mitch McConnell's the same. Mitch McConnell's like 90 years old. He should be in a home. These people are clinging on to these positions. They're clinging on to power. They're not. We can talk about term limits. We can talk about this. We can talk about passing new legislation. But at the end of the day, the founders laid down the blueprint about what's supposed to happen here. They put in a back door, and it's in the Declaration of Independence, and it's the Second Amendment. If a government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to abolish it and replace it with something that will benefit the people. Because this government is supposed to be we the people, right? Yep. We got back here, we the people. So the solution is what it is. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to advocate for it. We do, Dominic, you do. But as soon as you do, though, you get put on the watch list, and then you're fearful for losing all your rights. Yeah, Matt's group is actually on the Southern Poverty Law watch list.
But we were in 2020. I looked this year. I don't know if we're on, but we definitely were.
If you're not, you got to get on there. Back on.
All right, hang on. Let's pay some bills. Guys, this is the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely Media, and we appreciate everything you guys do, watching the video, watching the video shows, the podcasts if you're listening. If you want to be a part of the show, you can always join our group text, our chat, if you will, on Telegram, because I know a lot of you guys watch on different platforms, which, to be honest, I don't understand. Maybe somebody can explain it to me. If I say, hey, listen, this is Spreely.com, this is the most important place to go, and if you go on there, you'll actually help this small American business grow, which is all about free speech. And you're like, yeah, I want to watch on YouTube. I want to watch on Facebook. Why? Do you like being retarded? Just ask him. Anyways, go to Spreely.com. Check out all the good stuff like the Burn Pit Podcast, Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern. Gents, do you have anything coming up this Monday? Any guests or anything?
This Monday, Don, because we do the show out of the studio. The studio's closed, so we're going to be off this Monday, but we have a bunch of stuff that we're going to be putting out there. So, but the following day, I actually have a surprise guest I'm not telling Maddie about.
On Monday?
It's going to be a surprise guest the following Monday, not Labor Day.
Yeah, Labor Day, we're off.
Right.
We're going to show Europa on our podcast.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
The following Monday, I got a surprise guest coming on. I'm not going to say anything about it. But.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Also, don't forget to check out all the other shows over on Spreely.com, like Report and Opine, Evening Rants, The Shannon Joy Show, Pete Santilli. Who am I forgetting? I know I'm forgetting a lot of people. Is what it is.
Parnell's on there too.
What's it?
Battleground with Sean Parnell.
Yeah,
Sean Parnell was he's on there.
I got to start watching more. I really do. Also, do not forget to go to angiezwick.com today, angiezwick.com for your health needs, collagen, which I don't know too much about. I need to start researching into it, but hair, skin, nails, all that good stuff. angiezwick.com, angiezwick.com, and just go check her out because she's a show sponsor for today, and we appreciate her. Just say, hey, angiezwick.com. I like you. What's going on? Other than for the week here, we got Lola tomorrow. And Kayla from Flex Your Feminine will be Friday. And then that'll be that. So if you want to be a part of the show, text 708-982-0974 or get involved in that group chat, the Rants of Izzo show on TikTok. And we love you long time. All right. I want to read this. This was a listener email that I got, and I purposely held off on this till I had both of you guys here. I started to read it, and then I stopped after the first sentence because I'm like, nope, I don't want. I like knowing or seeing things firsthand with my guests, so I get like the first real time too with it. But once I saw a couple of words in this, I'm like, oh, this is way too fitting for the other guys. This is from Dave Leach. Appreciate you. Sent this to rantsofizzo.com. The title of this email is A Way Back to Courts That Follow the Constitution. And I put this on our newsletter. If you guys have any articles that you'd like me to read or anything you like, just send it to rantsofizzo@gmail.com. Dave says, perhaps you'd be interested in my research showing that although the Constitution doesn't explicitly say, quote, courts must submit to Congress, understanding of the Constitution, so the full quote is, the courts must submit to Congress's understanding of the Constitution. The 14th Amendment clearly and absolutely empowers Congress to, quote, enforce rights in states where rights are trampled, Section 5, while giving zero explicit authorization to the courts. And Article 3 of the original Constitution clearly and absolutely empowers Congress to regulate the jurisdiction of the courts. Courts are given zero explicit authorization to limit the jurisdiction of Congress. That's a statement of the obvious, which anyone can confirm by simply reading them. So, how did courts get away with the opposite? Will following the Constitution actually work? Also, without the 14th Amendment, there is no constitutional authority for any federal power to enforce rights within states where those rights are not protected. So as long as that doesn't affect other states. But since Congress is authorized by since only Congress is authorized by the 14th Amendment to protect rights against states' disinterest in rights, not courts, and the whole landmark abomination case from taking prayer Bibles and the 10 Commandments out of schools to overturning state laws against sodomy are an exercise of usurped authority in violation of the Constitution, 10th Amendment, and 14th. My research confirms what our eyes tell us by quoting Journal of SCOTUS precedents and analysis by individual judges. I love interactions about these things with our lawyers or with anyone familiar enough for them to challenge me. I know that's one last statement is, as for Congress messing with religion, neither Congress nor courts is allowed by the Constitution to mess with decisions made by state legislature, city councils, and school boards. Authority given to Congress by the 14th Amendment to protect other rights listed in the Constitution can overcome the explicit ban on Congress meddling with local religious decisions in the First Amendment. So what would that be like to allow local authorities the right to address religious issues without the fear of federal courts? State courts would still have jurisdiction through the First Amendment copies and constitutions. That's from Dave Leach. I thought that out of anybody, you guys would have an interest in that. 14th Amendment, what exactly is that?
Well, I've repeated it before on your show and in our show. Well, Article 1 of the 14th Amendment is pretty. Now, they did this after slavery, right? The 13th and 14th Amendment, because states, now they didn't have slavery anymore. So it was for that reason. But it goes across the board to everybody, not just freed slaves. Article 1 of the 14th Amendment said, no state shall make or enforce any law that deprives the rights, privileges, of the people. And then further down it says, nor shall any state deprive life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. So if they're going to confiscate or seize your property, which is a Fourth Amendment thing, right? No illegal searches and seizures. You can't do that unless you have gone through due process. Okay, so anything that, now again, they can't make or enforce any law that deprives the rights, privilege. Okay, so you go by the Constitution, you as a state cannot make any fucking law that deprives any privileges, immunities, or rights of the people. And if you do make that fucking law, you're not even allowed to enforce it.
Can I ask?
Now here's something he didn't mention. Here's something he failed to mention, in my opinion. It was written very well. He mentioned the judicial branch and legislative branch. Like Congress is legislative. The courts are judicial. Well, what's the third branch, Dominic?
The judicial executive. Okay.
execute the law. That's law enforcement. Okay? I don't give a, how about this? They're separate branches of government. You've heard the phrase before, Dominic.
Balance of powers.
Right. You have separation of powers, checks and balances. Okay, Congress, you just passed an unconstitutional law. That's great. They're going to challenge it in court. Judge is like, yeah, this is bullshit. I'm throwing it out. Let's have a communist judge. I'm going to agree that this law Congress passed, legislative branch, is, as a judge, I am upholding it. So now you have the judicial and legislative branch being totally anti-constitutional. You still have that third branch, Dominic, law enforcement. Okay, you faggots, I'm not going to enforce this law because it's unconstitutional. Now you have all three in line with each other, right? And if the states are doing it, right, now that's on a federal level, do it on a state level. Talking about 14th Amendment, state is making this law that's unconstitutional. Okay, well, the federal government can now come in. You can't do this. It's a 14th Amendment violation. I'm going to fucking arrest you. We're going to send in U.S. Marshals, FBI, DHS, whoever.
County sheriffs.
Send in. Well, they can. Yeah, the county sheriff can do it too, depending on what county you're in. He only has jurisdiction in that county. But if the governor doesn't do anything, who controls the state police of that state, then the federal government has a right to come in. Bring up another example of this. And everybody remembers the movie. I brought this up before. Everybody remembers the movie Forrest Gump, correct?
Yep.
Forrest Gump. You remember the scene in Forrest Gump where he's in high school and Governor Wallace in Alabama, Governor Wallace of Alabama said, no, the black can't come into school. We're not allowed. They're not allowed to come in. Guess what John F. Kennedy did? He activated the National Guard and sent them in. Yeah, you're letting them in, and I'm going to use the National Guard as a law enforcement because under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 of the Constitution, the president has full authority to activate what was called the militia that got morphed into the National Guard, and I'm going to send in the National Guard to enforce or to counter your illegal, unconstitutional law that you put in place, Governor Wallace. It was right in the movie. So this can happen. Any president can do this. Trump failed on doing that during the BLM riots, right? He failed on doing it anywhere. The president, anything that makes any law that's illegal and anti-constitutional, the president, just by edict, can send in the National Guard or even U.S. Marshals. And this is what's not happening, is there's no enforcement of the Constitution. Article 6, Section 2 says what? The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It's known as the Supremacy Clause. The Constitution is above everything. You cannot violate it. He wants to talk about SCOTUS, Supreme Court decisions. Marbury versus Madison, 1803. John Marshall, his opinion, which he decided in the win in that case. Any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. There's been precedent already, but again, Dominic, people, governments, local, state, county, federal, will do whatever the fuck they want because guess what? Who the fuck's going to do anything about it?
Nobody. I struggled with that when the first time I heard about this was, I think it had to be like 2003 or 2004. Apparently, Chicago police stopped enforcing curfew because it was proven it's unconstitutional. And I'm like, yeah. And I started going, like my head, I literally started going, wait a second. So how does that apply to speeding? How does that apply to any of these other laws that I'm, air quotes, enforcing on a daily basis? And it fucked with me. I'm like, what am I doing with this job? Because where is it in the Constitution that traffic laws and violations and this? So and that comes back to when I had my wake up call. I'm like, I don't know shit about the Constitution, dude. I just went to the police academy. Yeah, you do the tactical stop on a driver's side versus a passenger side. Put them into handcuffings. They didn't teach us shit about how your state laws, village ordinances, fall within the guidelines of the Constitution. They didn't. It blows me away, and I realized I was part of the fucking problem.
Yeah, the way the branches of government, the powers of government are laid out, there's three branches of government: the legislative, the judicial, and the executive. Law enforcement falls under the executive branch. The other two branches count on the arm of the executive branch to enforce those illegal, unconstitutional laws or legislation. Because all it is, Dominic, and we've talked about this multiple times, Matt and I, that those pieces of legislation are just a piece of paper. And without a sword behind it to back it up, it means nothing. So the other two branches are counting on the obedience and the compliance of law enforcement to do their bidding so that the citizenry will be obedient and comply.
Yep.
And it all comes back to the universal law, which is might is right. Might is always going to be right. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you think 3 + 3 is 6 and I think 3 + 3 is 7 and we argue it to finality and I won't back down and I kill you, your argument's now invalid because
You're dead.
You're dead. So technically 3 + 3 is 7 and I'm standing here being like, yeah, I'm right. You're wrong because you can't even make an argument anymore because you're dead. And that's what it is. So the fear of violence, the threat of force, the government uses that. The government uses might is right to get people to comply.
Yep. And they finance these armed gangs of men, again, with very nice pensions, paychecks, and benefits.
With the taxpayer. We're paying.
Yeah, our
We're
Constitution.
paying for our enslavement.
Yeah.
We're paying for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Our founders would have looked at us today and been like, why aren't you guys stacking bodies right now?
Exactly
That's
right.
And
they put up with less.
That's where we're going. I want to talk about a little bit with the breaking news that Special Counsel Jack Smith has filed a superseding indictment against Donald Trump. Here you have, and I'll read the bullet points of this, but here you have something that is blatantly, it's fucked. It's purposely being done on abuse of authority before an election. Nothing gets held with the double standard is insane, but that's all we do. We do podcasts on it. We share memes on it. We do it's, oh, look, it's so, it's going to change when Trump gets in office. No, not if we don't do shit, dude. He's not going to get in fucking office. Prosecutors filed superseding indictment against Donald Trump after the Supreme Court granted him, meaning Jack Smith, after the Supreme Court granted Donald Trump substantial immunity. Quote, the superseding indictment, which was presented to a new grand jury that had not previously heard evidence in this case, reflects the government's effort to respect and implement the Supreme Court's holdings and remand instructions in the Trump v. United States, that special counsel office said. The indictment was presented to a new grand jury not involved in the original, who was not involved in the original case, aligning with the Supreme Court's instructions. Prosecutors state that Trump won't need to appear in person for the new arraignment, and they'll coordinate with his lawyers the next couple steps. Special counsel Jack Smith has been consulting with the DOJ's officials about Trump's alleged conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. I'm part of two cases in Illinois, Melissa Kaluzinski and Marnie Yang. And both of them are sitting in prison, and they're both innocent. One was convicted of murdering a toddler at a daycare center in 2009. The other one was convicted of shooting and murdering a 9-month pregnant woman who was the mistress of a 1985 Chicago Bear Super Bowl champ. Both these women, I've talked about this numerous times, are innocent. There is a massive amount of evidence that has been proved there is an innocence. It's insane. There's so much fucking shit on there. The courts have been slower than me taking a shit if I consume 500 grams of protein in one day. And it blows me away where we have documented, proven innocence. But in Illinois, you could have Matt could get charged with fucking murder, and then the videotape confession of me saying, no, I actually did it. And then I've got the video of me doing the murder. Here's me shooting this person. And the courts would go, yeah, we still need to go through all the process. And it will take fucking 10 to 15 years. But in this case, this is the problem I'm having, right? Maybe this is why it's so insane for me. I know how corrupt law enforcement is. I know how they manipulate facts to get their fucking evidence presented the way they want to. Innocent people are in prison. But then I watch my federal government do this, and I want to go. I want war. I want somebody held accountable where I take Jack Smith and grab him by the fucking face and saying, what you are doing is not right. Do your job the right way. Can't outside of violence, which we don't. We is there any other way to right this ship? This is an insane abuse. It makes zero sense.
Do you think cops would be successful if they didn't use violence and they ask nicely for all criminals, murderers, rapists, armed robbers to come in?
Fuck no.
Or do they send armed gangs of men with the threat of violence or use violence itself?
Yeah, kicking your door fucking while you're sleeping at night.
Right. They did that. Yeah. So in order to enforce to enforce the law, legitimate laws that need to be enforced, you have to do the same thing. It's doing it. If this person you were talking about, these two people who are innocent, you were talking about, the answer is this, Dominic. You got to get enough people together, whether it's 100, 200, 500, and you're going to go down there fully armed, and you're like, okay, you're releasing them, or we're going to get it on. Let's go. Someone's dying. We might not win, but a lot of you aren't going to go home to your families. But that's what needs to happen, and it won't happen because people, again, they don't. That's not their job. Police, they get paid to do that. And that's the problem with America. The founding father, you're talking about putting on an FBI watch list. 56 men back in 1776 put them on a British watch list, right? It's called the Declaration of Independence. They told the king to go fuck himself. They were dead or going to get hanged if it didn't go their way, and they didn't care. And these were millionaires of the time, billionaires of the time, right? These guys most of them were all wealthy, rich plantation owners, large property owners. They didn't care. You don't have anybody now, Dominic, in that position ready to do that because it's a nation of fucking cowards. I don't even care if you're a fucking top-rated MMA fighter. That dude ain't going. That guy ain't go to the front lines and just protect constitutional rights.
Nobody does.
He might. I'll go against anybody in a bar fight or in a cage match. He ain't going to go against a tyrannical, oppressive neo-Bolshevik style government. He's not going to do that.
I said it a million times.
People won't. Most veterans won't do that. Most veterans won't do that.
I've said it a million times. I love watching the movies. Like I watched the director's cut of Rebel Moon. It's 6 hours, and I'm like, okay, this is a scene where this empire comes down on this farmland, and they give the speech, and I'm like, man, this is bullshit. I know what it's like firsthand to try to rally people up, to inspire them to go out and get signatures on a petition. You think these people are going to go out and fight for them, knowing the second they open the barn door and they charge, you don't make it 5 steps before your head is blown off and you look like a fucking cantaloupe hit by by Gallagher. That's your contribution. Nobody's willing to do that today. Who is willing to be the first wave to storm the castle, knowing it is 100% guaranteed you're going to get gunned down? You're not going to survive. Oh, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Well, you're looking at an actual military incursion. Yeah. Again, we bring up the Bundy Ranch incident as a successful show of force that has been done in the past. You had 3,000 militia members and one sheriff's department was involved.
That's right.
And it's a large show of force, and it worked.
Yeah, there were over 3,000 guys.
Yeah.
3,000 guys, the ATF, FBI, even the local law enforcement that was with the feds. They all packed their bags and went home.
Yeah. It worked. And that's what we're talking about. Is it might not, it doesn't even have to come to gunfire, but you got to be willing to do it and die. You're not, I said this before, you're not going to have any freedom if you're not willing to die to defend and protect it. It's just not going to, you can't. And the government knows that about us.
Yeah, fear is a great motivator. Yeah. Fear is. I mean, on both sides. They use fear to get us to comply.
And what's the famous quote from Thomas Jefferson? When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. And when the government fears the people, there is liberty. The government does not fear the people. And quite frankly, they have no reason to fear the people because the people are a bunch of fucking, I'll say it again, pussy faggot cunts.
I love that.
Collectively speaking, of course.
We need a T-shirt that says "We the people" and in parentheses are pussy faggot cunts.
That's it's a good shirt idea.
That's a good one.
That's a
My wife's gonna have to make that one.
That's a Burn Pit podcast shirt.
Again, I don't know how much time we got. So Dominic, we're not even unified. We talk about we the people, right? We have we the people here, but Jack Donovan, I don't know if you him or listen to him. He had a great essay, and it was called "We the People." And he said, "Well, who is we? Are we the BLM and Antifa? Is that part of your we? Or how about all the fucking communists and Marxists in the streets burning the flag and wiping their ass with the flag? Is that part of your we? All the illegal immigrants or immigrants who hate this country, that don't even fly the American flag, spit on the flag, take all the entitlements that is stolen from the other people's pockets through taxation? Is that part of your we? Or all the Republicans and Democrats, whichever ones who vote to violate your constitutional rights? Is that part of your we? Who the fuck is we?
You can't establish it today.
Those
People
aren't
get so
that's
pissed.
not my we.
People
Those
get
aren't part
pissed
of
off.
my we. Yeah. So that phrase is useless. It's just as useless as a fucking coexist bumper sticker.
Scotty.
There you go.
Scotty, what are
I
you gonna
agree. I mean, I'm left speechless there. He's absolutely right. I read that the We the People essay that he did. It's you think, oh, we're together in this. We're all together in this. You keep hearing that. You know, we're not all together in this. The country's very divided. And if you go to Pew Research, we broke down a study that Pew did. The country's getting even more divided on things too. Republican and Democrats have a dislike for each other. You thought they disliked each other back in the 90s. Their views of each other today are even worse. I think it's 55% of each party has a horrible view of the other, their opinion.
Yeah.
So
then what's within those groups,
people.
though?
Yeah.
What's within those groups? Because how many times do I talk about? I think I put something up there the other day where it said Trump was. I'm paraphrasing. Trump was going to make it illegal to burn the American flag, and people were like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Well, what?" I'm like, "I don't care if you don't like it." Last time I checked, unless I am wrong, that is a constitutionally protected issue of free speech that the courts have upheld. I don't want that. I don't want just because somebody comes in this country and they fucking hate it. You can hate it all you want, dude. Sadly, that's as long as you're a citizen, that's your constitutional fucking right. So who is we the people? People who don't, no, you're wrong. You're not a fucking patriot if you're okay with people burning your flag. I didn't say I'm okay with it. I'm said that I'm okay with the fact that they're allowed to do it because half the shit that I promote or whatever you may not like. So even the two sides, the division amongst them is insane as well too. So who is we the people? Because I don't fucking know anymore. I don't know I don't know who's going to lead the charge, and then who's the emperor that we're going to kiss the ring afterwards. I keep telling people you want a great if you want a great model for what could be coming, go watch The Walking Dead. It's not about zombies. It's about the groups afterwards who are all in factions, the governor, Negan, Rick's group, and who's going to fucking survive. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've talked about the First Amendment. In fact, Dr. Alan Zabrowski brought this up where the First Amendment, which may be our greatest strength, which is you can come in here and say whatever you want, might also be our greatest weakness because here, people that can espouse views that are actually detrimental to our country, is that good for the country? If they're promoting communism, if they're promoting, say, that the Constitution is outdated and we should get rid of that document altogether, is that good for the country? So while they have a right to say it, it's detrimental. So Matt and I have maybe made an argument for the First Amendment, not that the founders didn't have a great view, but they might not have seen everything coming down the road there. Yeah.
So Dominic, would you be in favor of free speech if I publicly or even privately conspired to commit a crime? Yes. If I say, you know what, I'm gonna kill Dominic Izzo, I'm gonna take a knife.
That's already illegal, right?
That's already illegal.
That's already legal.
So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna kill the United States by subverting the Constitution and implementing Marxism, communism. Shouldn't that be illegal?
Well, you can't say it. You can't say that. You can't say that.
Right. Well, that's conspiracy to overthrow the government. That's sedition.
How is that? There's intent.
Technically speaking, that's already against the law.
There's intent, right?
It's a tough one.
Intent there.
And now I'm not saying the burning the flag thing, but there is a line there. Otherwise, again, the Constitution is a suicide pact if that's what you're going to do. Okay, just completely subvert, and which has happened. The country has been subverted. We've basically proven this. Your Constitution doesn't exist anymore. You can't say the country has not been subverted because it's not enforced. No, and it's actively being violated by both parties.
Happy Wednesday, Dominic. It's a great show. I love the show on Wednesday.
I'm telling you, it. And the biggest problem is we talk, right? And I know that we're willing to act. I would love. I did. I remember we got like 60 seconds left. I actually watched the entire Robert F. Kennedy like concession speech where he said, and I was like, I was very, very impressed. And I'm like, there's a lot of things I don't agree with him on, but he just proved to me that I have hope for a rational mind to step back in after this fucking circus goes away, if it does, in 2028. No more bullshit. I want more people who are like Kennedy's demeanor, who actually have the insight, fortitude, and ability to follow things forward. But I think, what Trump was a novelty when he first got in 2016. Then it became a fucking sideshow circus game. Now with Harris and all this other shit, it's the left is simply playing the same shit back. And I'm so blinded with anger and outrage at the lack of shit to do that the only way I know how to correct behavior is to slap the shit out of you and rattle your fucking brains. So unless we get to do that,
or is Kennedy just being nice because he's promised a position in the Trump cabinet?
I don't trust that 100%. Don't forget, he's a Kennedy. He's a Kennedy. There's still fucking Kennedy blood flowing to those veins. All them fucking whatever. Guys, this was your Wednesday show. Go check out the Burn Pit podcast on all platforms, especially Spreely TV. Maddie Wack just created a new backup account because you never know when the government's going to hack his new one over on IG.
He suspended me for about 15 minutes.
Scott Sieverts, you can find him as well too, and the Burn Pit podcast, which is every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. What was I going to? I would definitely.
Happy birthday, Maddie Wack.
Oh yeah, that's
Happy
right.
birthday, brother.
Thank you.
That was the big thing. How old? 48 today. 48.
Yes, sir.
Damn. Yeah, I got 6 months and I'm 50. It's all fucking downhill. So I will be here for my birthday if it falls on that date. Guys, have a great damn day. Lola Christina in tomorrow. We got some stuff to share. We'll probably be attacking more shit. Maybe I'm going to bring up her favorite person, Dylan Mulvaney. She hasn't talked about him. She loses her fucking mind when I bring him up, and I love that. Have an awesome damn day. Go help somebody today, guys, and if you can't help them, do not hurt them. See you guys tomorrow.